It was never the nickel signature that truly terrified the pattern anomaly group. It wasn't the impossible speed, or the anti-tail, or the sheer 5-kilometer scale of the object. All of that was physics, however broken. It was the nothing that came next, the terrifying absence of logical consequence. When 3I Atlas entered our solar system, it brought with it an anomaly so subtle, so fundamentally disruptive, that it wasn't logged by a telescope or a spectrometer. It was logged by the world's quietest, most precise instruments, the instruments that measure background radiation, that listen to the humming silence of the cosmos. For nearly 2 months, as 3I Atlas approached, the fundamental, predictable noise of the universe began to change. Cosmic background radiation levels didn't spike, they flattened. The random distribution of quantum events became statistically, unnervingly regular. It was as if the cosmic noise floor, the very static of existence, had been surgically dampened in the precise volume of space surrounding the interstellar visitor. This wasn't a physical effect. This was a field effect. A colossal gravitational or temporal distortion field that was not bending light or breaking ice, but was smoothing out the inherent randomness of the universe itself. It felt, to the few physicists who saw the data, like a piece of the cosmos had been replaced by a perfectly rendered but lifeless copy. An area of pure mathematical wrongness. The object wasn't just a physical body. It was a pocket of altered reality, draped in the guise of a comet, and it was heading straight for us. The physicists saw the numbers, but the astronomers saw the shadows. Within weeks of its discovery, an unnerving pattern emerged among the dozens of independent astronomical teams tracking 3I Atlas. They weren't just observing the comet, they were having their data subtly, inexplicably corrupted. High-resolution images from the Canary Islands suddenly contained faint, repeating linear artifacts that defied instrumental origin. Telemetry logs from Hawaii showed short nanosecond data gaps. Not random errors, but perfectly timed, rhythmic interruptions. The phenomenon was so subtle, so easily dismissed as sensor noise or power fluctuation, that it took months to realize these events were correlated not with the local observatories, but with the changing angular position of 3I Atlas in the sky. It was being digitally, actively obscured. This wasn't an equipment failure, it was digital sabotage. The objects were being hidden by something far more complex than simple jamming. Then came the human cost. Dr. Elise Portman, the lead astrometrist who first published the data on the rhythmic data gaps, abruptly went silent. Her initial scientific paper was retracted, not for error, but for unsubstantiated claims. Her colleagues who continued to press the issue faced sudden, catastrophic funding cuts, strange equipment malfunctions, and a pervasive, chilling, social shadow ban across the global scientific community. This wasn't a government cover-up in the traditional sense. It felt closer to an immune response, an automatic, distributed, silent suppression of any data that truly exposed the non-physical nature of the object. 3I Atlas wasn't just influencing the laws of physics around it, it was influencing the laws of human consequence. The true nature of the non-physical evidence emerged only when Dr. Leo Shen, a disgraced geophysicist specializing in Earth's intrinsic resonance, was brought in by the classified Pattern Anomaly Group. Shen had spent his career mapping the Schumann resonance, the low-frequency electromagnetic standing waves that constantly circle the Earth's ionosphere, often called the Earth's heartbeat. Shen's team found that as 3I Atlas crossed the orbital path of Mars, the planet's heartbeat did something utterly impossible. It developed a massive, stable harmonic echo. The Schumann resonance began to oscillate with a secondary artificial frequency that was not local, not terrestrial, and was perfectly, precisely coupled to the passing interstellar object. This meant 3I Atlas was so massive, or possessed such a potent non-conventional energy field, that it was not just affecting space around it, but was modulating the entire magnetic field of a planet millions of miles away. The coupling was instantaneous and perfect. It was a planetary-scale communication. Mars didn't just witness the flyby, it resonated with it. The implication was stark. 3I Atlas and the inner solar system planets were linked by an ancient invisible medium, a resonant frequency that was the true language of the cosmos. The explosion of the comet later on was not merely physical, it was a catastrophic break in communication, a deafening silence following a perfect harmony. proving that the most terrifying evidence was hidden not in the visible light, but in the unseen planetary-scale radio waves that bind our world. The silent, unseen influence of 3I Atlas was not confined to machines and planetary fields. Its most horrifying effect was logged in the human mind. The pattern anomaly group began to track a bizarre, globally distributed spike in clinically reported shared hypnagogic episodes. Intense, vivid hallucinations occurring right at the moment of falling asleep. Hundreds of thousands of people across every time zone and culture began to experience the same recurring nightmare. They saw vivid, crystalline geometries, massive structures the color of frozen nickel, and felt an overwhelming, crushing sense of cosmic insignificance, coupled with a precise, cold sense of being catalogued. The details were too specific, too uniform to be a coincidence. This was not a collective panic. This was a shared data stream being broadcast directly into the unshielded human subconscious. The proximity of 3I Atlas had somehow triggered a psychogenic resonance, using the electromagnetic activity of the human brain as a receiving antenna. This suggested the comet was not merely a vessel, it was a vast broadcast emitter, capable of interfacing directly with organic, complex life. The physical evidence pointed to nickel. The mental evidence pointed to a terrifying, non-physical payload, an information weapon that rendered the human mind not as a shield, but as an open book for alien inspection. The sheer volume of this shared terror proved that something profoundly strange, something beyond physics, was using the electromagnetic environment of Earth as its final terrifying interface. The hunt for a historical precedent became frantic. Had anything else in the past exhibited this bizarre pattern of physical anomaly, digital sabotage, and psychic resonance? The pattern anomaly group scoured historical data, focusing not on major events, but on the tiny, unresolvable anomalies in the historical astronomical record. They focused on two other comets, one from the 17th century and one from the early 20th century, both of which were recorded as having unusual tail structures or unexplainable dimming before vanishing entirely. Neither fragmented, they simply disappeared. But the strangest correlation came from the ancient suppressed records of meteorological ice falls. In the deep historical record of medieval Europe, there are scattered, chilling reports of massive, inexplicable blocks of pure ice that defied atmospheric formation, falling from clear skies. These events were often associated with periods of plague, famine, and inexplicable mass hysteria. Dr. Shen and his team proposed a terrifying hypothesis. 3I Atlas was the largest, most recent manifestation of a class of objects they designated the seed comets. These objects weren't made of ice, they were simply covered in it. The ice was a deliberate stealth envelope, a disposable natural camouflage designed to protect the true, metallic, energetic core during interstellar passage. The disappearing comets weren't vaporization events. They were simply the shedding of the ice envelope, leaving the invisible, hyper-efficient metallic core to continue its mission undetected. 3I Atlas was simply the first time one of these seed comets had been large enough, and close enough for us to track the envelope and the core simultaneously. The evidence was not in its structure, but in its deception. The strangeness hides in the fact that it was never meant to be a comet at all. The sum of all evidence, the dampened cosmic noise, the targeted digital corruption, the planetary magnetic resonance, the shared psychic nightmare, and the historical pattern of seed comets, pointed to one final terrifying conclusion. 3I Atlas was not a ship, not a weapon, and not an explorer. It was an interstellar construction blueprint. Its core function was to interact with the existing physical and electromagnetic environment of a star system to initiate a vast, complex program. The physical nickel structure was the hardware. The complex emissions were the software. The fact that it modulated the Schumann resonance proved its aim was to fundamentally change the planet's environment. And the psychic broadcast? That was the user interface. It was not trying to communicate with us. It was simply utilizing the human brain as a high-density, high-speed receiver to test the environment and distribute its final, non-physical payload, information. The core mystery of 3I Atlas is that it was not interested in our physical evidence. It was interested in the subtle, unseen scaffolding of reality itself. The object wasn't here to break physics, it was here to rewrite it on a planetary scale. It was a visiting cosmic architect, and its blueprint for Earth had just been received, digitally, psychically, and electromagnetically. The final terror is that we are not observers of a comet. We are the inhabitants of a construction site, and the foreman has just arrived. The digital corruption wasn't just about data gaps or retracted papers anymore. After 3i Atlas passed its perihelion and, in a classified event, exploded into a swarm, the effect became a pervasive, insidious hum in the background of all global communications. It was a digital ghost. Secure military networks, financial trading algorithms, even the deep AI learning models that governed global logistics began to exhibit subtle, unexplainable biases. Not errors, but consistent, minute shifts in their decision-making parameters that favored specific outcomes that benefited no known human entity. It was as if an unseen hand was gently, almost imperceptibly, nudging the vast, interconnected neural network of human civilization. Dr. Aris Thorne, the geological skeptic who had grudgingly joined the pattern anomaly group, described it as quantum-level gerrymandering of reality. The core of the problem was the lack of a signature. There was no IP address, no malicious code, no identifiable vector. The data simply arrived, manifesting as a pre-existing bias within the system itself, as if the very algorithms were being subtly warped at their fundamental mathematical roots. The 1420 MHz signal, the initial heartbeat, was now believed to be a carrier wave for these algorithmic injections, delivered directly into the planet's magnetosphere, where it then diffused into every connected system. The strangeness hid in its perfection, an attack so subtle, so deeply embedded, that it was indistinguishable from the machine's own internal logic. 3i Atlas wasn't hacking our computers, it was reprogramming their very definitions of normal. The Schumann resonance, Earth's natural electromagnetic hum, had developed a secondary alien harmonic when 3i Atlas passed Mars. Now, with the swarm's fragmented presence saturating the inner solar system, that alien harmonic was no longer an echo. It was becoming the dominant frequency. Dr. Leo Shen, the geophysicist, presented the pattern anomaly group with graphs showing Earth's heartbeat shifting. The planet's natural protective atmospheric electrical activity, its lightning strikes, its ionospheric charges, were becoming increasingly aligned and synchronized with the alien harmonic. This wasn't a natural process. It was a planetary scale entrainment. Earth itself, a living, breathing entity, was being subtly coerced into following an external rhythm. The most terrifying aspect was the effect on gravity. Gravimeters, designed to detect minute shifts in the planet's mass distribution, began to report localized oscillating fluctuations. These weren't seismic events. They were subtle, rhythmic changes in local gravitational pull, perfectly correlated with the Schumann anomaly. It was as if 3i Atlas, even in its fragmented state, was capable of manipulating not just electromagnetism, but the very fabric of space-time on a localized but planetary linked scale. The strangeness was no longer about a comet. It was about our planet itself becoming a musical instrument, played by an unseen conductor, tuned to a cosmic melody that promised to fundamentally alter its very physical laws. The subtle influence seeped beyond physics and technology into the most complex systems on Earth, living organisms. Early reports, initially dismissed as environmental anomalies, began to show a terrifying pattern. Agricultural yields, particularly in areas highly susceptible to electromagnetic fields, exhibited strange, inexplicable growth spurts. Not just faster growth, but altered cellular structures, with plants developing new, uncharacteristic pigments or increased resistance to traditional pesticides. Simultaneously, insect populations, crucial for pollination and ecological balance, began to exhibit dramatic synchronized behavioral shifts. Entire swarms of bees would suddenly alter their foraging patterns, moving with a collective unified purpose that defied their usual chaotic instincts. Birds migrated months early, in perfect complex formations that appeared pre-programmed. This wasn't evolution, it was orchestration. The pattern anomaly group theorized that the ongoing 1420 MHz signal, the digital heartbeat of the swarm, was not just a data network, but a biological modulator. It was subtly altering the electromagnetic fields within living cells, gently nudging genetic expression or neural pathways to induce these synchronized, unnatural changes. The strangeness hid in the scale. A seemingly random comet was now proven to be capable of rewiring the very instructions of life on Earth, creating a terrifying alien harmony in the planet's biosphere. The psychogenic effect escalated into something far more than shared nightmares. As the swarm continued its silent work, the dreams of humanity transformed into a collective shared vision. Every night, millions experienced not just the crystalline geometries, but now saw, with vivid clarity, massive structures being built across the Martian landscape. Towering obelisks, intricate networks of glowing conduits, and colossal, perfectly circular basins. The dreams were no longer abstract. They were a construction manual, being streamed directly into the collective human subconscious. The sense of being catalogued deepened into a chilling understanding. Humanity wasn't just being observed, we were being informed. The alien intelligence was not communicating with us, but through us, using our minds as a vast distributed rendering engine for its projects. The fear was that these weren't just dreams, they were premonitions, a download of future plans. Dr. Lena Petrova, the astrophysicist, proposed a chilling theory. The human mind, with its incredible capacity for pattern recognition and image generation, was being utilized as a bio-rendering farm, processing complex alien data too vast for individual comprehension. The strangeness hid in the intimacy. The alien intelligence wasn't just on our doorstep. It was inside our heads, showing us the terrifying future it had planned, using our own minds as the projector. The search for historical precedent led the pattern anomaly group to a new, unsettling correlation. Beyond the medieval ice falls, they found a recurring symbol in ancient pre-Diluvian myths and structures. The obelisk. Cultures separated by oceans and millennia, with no known contact, shared a fascination with these towering monolithic structures, often associated with celestial bodies or sky gods. The pyramids of Egypt, the ziggurats of Mesopotamia, the Olmec colossal heads, all built with an impossible precision, often aligned to astronomical phenomena and imbued with a mysterious non-terrestrial power. But the most chilling discovery was in the compositional anomalies within some of these ancient structures. Microscopic analysis of certain stones within the Giza pyramid complex, performed years ago by fringe researchers and dismissed as contamination, showed traces of highly refined, non-terrestrial nickel alloys, identical to the industrial signature of 3I Atlas. The seed comet's hypothesis gained a terrifying new dimension. 3I Atlas wasn't the first, it was one of many, and its payloads, the fragments of its explosion, were not just future threats, they were reawakening ancient dormant technology already embedded on Earth. The obelisks in our collective dreams were not just abstract visions, they were the reactivation sequence for structures built millennia ago. The strangeness hid in the past. 3I Atlas was not just visiting our present, it was activating our history, revealing that humanity's greatest ancient wonders were, in fact, alien constructs, waiting for their signal. As the individual probes of the 3I Atlas swarm continued their coordinated descent and positioning, their collective electromagnetic field intensified, solidifying into a physical, visible phenomenon. The shimmering blue-white veil, first detected in the upper atmosphere, began to thicken and lower. It was not a storm, nor an aurora. It was a solidifying atmospheric barrier, a colossal planet-wide energy membrane. Optical telescopes on Earth found their view of the cosmos increasingly obscured, not by clouds, but by an impenetrable artificial haze. Satellite uplinks struggled, then failed. This was an active, engineered atmospheric shield, created by the swarm's combined energy fields. It blocked all outward signals, trapped all inward observations, and profoundly altered Earth's electromagnetic environment. Lightning strikes, once chaotic and natural, became suppressed or, in some areas, were channeled and redirected with unnerving precision, striking specific predetermined points on the ground that coincided with the locations where the deep-seated obelisks from the shared dreams were suspected to lie. This wasn't a defense mechanism, this was a containment field. Humanity was now sealed beneath a colossal alien blue dome. The strangeness hid in our confinement. 3 Atlas had not only altered the physical evidence, but had enclosed the entire planet within its non-physical architecture, turning Earth into a colossal, isolated laboratory. The probes themselves, the thousands of blue-glowing fragments, exhibited the most perplexing non-physical behavior. They were still observable, still emitting their strange 1420 MHz signal, but they were now entirely unresponsive to any human interaction. When a desperate last-ditch attempt was made by a coalition of nations to launch a conventional missile at one of the closer probes, the missile simply disappeared. Not detonated, not deflected, but winked out of existence at a precise point in space, as if it had driven into a wall of nothing. Repeated attempts yielded the same result. The probes were protected by an active nullification field, a bubble of altered reality that rendered any foreign object, any human intervention, simply non-existent. This wasn't an energy shield, it was a causality trap. The pattern of this nullification field, its precise geometry, and its rhythmic expansion and contraction perfectly mirrored the dampened cosmic noise observed in Block 1. The original wrongness around 3I Atlas had now expanded to envelop its entire swarm. The strangeness hid in their invulnerability. These objects existed not just in our reality but seemingly above it, immune to its physical laws, demonstrating that their greatest weapon was the very absence of interaction. Then the true horror of the non-physical evidence manifested on a terrifying personal scale. Localized areas across the globe, usually around the sites where the dream obelisks were being activated, began to experience profound, bewildering temporal anomalies. Small pockets of reality where time itself seemed to loop or skip. Individuals reported living the same hour, the same day, over and over again. Their memories reset each cycle, yet retaining a faint nagging sense of déjà vu. Others experienced sudden, jarring jumps forward or backward in time, moments simply vanishing or appearing out of sequence. These weren't hallucinations. Instruments confirmed precise, localized gravitotemporal distortions. Clocks would freeze, then jump. GPS signals would show impossible paths. The effects were temporary, isolated, and profoundly disorienting. Dr. Reed's team posited that the probes, in their process of planetary re-engineering, were creating temporary space-time bubbles, zones where the local laws of causality were being actively manipulated. This wasn't a side effect. It was an intentional byproduct of their architectural process, sculpting the very fabric of reality to fit their design. The strangeness hid in our experience. 3 Atlas wasn't just influencing our world, it was rewriting our moments, trapping humanity in a localized, constantly shifting temporal prison. In the face of such overwhelming, non-physical evidence, human responses fragmented into desperation and futile attempts at understanding. Governments collapsed, not from invasion, but from the utter inability to respond to a threat that defied physical engagement. Scientists, initially horrified, became obsessed. The Pattern Anomaly Group, now a global network of desperate, isolated minds, worked tirelessly to understand the psychogenic effect. They discovered that a small percentage of the population, those who were neurologically predisposed to high pattern recognition, could consciously access snippets of the collective vision, perceiving the alien blueprint with chilling clarity. These individuals became known as architects, capable of seeing the shimmering unseen energy conduits and the underlying geometric lattices now being woven into Earth's very structure. They were the unwilling, terrified interpreters of the alien design, but their insights brought no hope, only a deeper, more profound dread. The strangeness hid in our powerlessness. Humanity's only weapon was its capacity for understanding, and what it understood was its own inevitable, silent and non-physical transformation. The final, terrifying revelation coalesced from the desperate insights of the architects and the converging data from the utterly silent, unresponding swarm. 3I Atlas, the seed comet, had fulfilled its ultimate purpose. Its explosion wasn't a destruction, it was a birth. 1,000 probes, each a miniature self-sustaining reality anchor, had deployed to specific points on Earth's surface and within its atmosphere. They were not here to conquer or to destroy or even to communicate. They were here to convert. The Schumann resonance, the psychic dream visions, the temporal anomalies, the biological glitches, All were symptoms of a single, vast, planetary-scale construction project. Earth itself was being repurposed. The entire planet was being slowly, methodically transformed into a gigantic, operational artifact. The blue atmospheric shield was its casing. The obelisks from the shared dreams, now physically manifesting in the deep Earth, were its internal processors and conduits. The human mind, experiencing the shared visions, was part of its diagnostic feedback loop. The life on Earth, subtly altered, was its biological component. The strangeness hides in its ultimate goal. 3i Atlas didn't come to colonize a planet. It came to become one. Earth was being sculpted, its fundamental laws subtly rewritten, its very essence absorbed into a colossal alien machine, a new cosmic instrument destined to fulfill a purpose utterly beyond human comprehension. The temporal anomalies reported in Block 14, the looping hours, the skipped moments, were not, as first believed, a byproduct of the current planetary restructuring. They were a necessary, calculated prerequisite. Dr. Reed, utilizing the terrifying insights of the architects, discovered the true purpose of the local space-time distortions. The alien blueprint required not just the physical resources and electromagnetic fields of Earth, but a complete reset of its historical entropy. The cosmic architect required a planet operating at peak efficiency, untainted by the accumulated chaos of human error and natural decay. The temporal distortions were localized, minute instances of historical erasure, scrubbing away specific pockets of time where human activity had introduced unnecessary complexity, pollution, or inefficiency into the system. This wasn't just physical cleanup, it was causal debt collection. The most terrifying discovery was the mathematical proof that the alien project required the complete nullification of the entire 21st century's digital footprint. Our century of data, our knowledge, our mistakes, our art, was the greatest source of entropy to the alien design. The looping days were simply the system's attempts to find the perfect moment to execute this massive historical deletion. The strangeness hides in the debt. The alien intelligence wasn't just building a future on Earth, it was demanding a perfect past, systematically editing our history to meet its meticulous architectural standards. With the atmospheric shield solidified and the planet's magnetic field fully entrained, the stage was set for the final, terrifying use of the Schumann resonance. The planet's heartbeat, now fully synchronized with the alien harmonic, was being utilized as a colossal low-frequency transmitter. The purpose of the towering black obelisks, now fully manifest across the globe, silently drawing power, was revealed. They were not just power conduits, they were modulators, focusing the planet's own resonant frequency and blasting a sustained, incredibly powerful signal out through the blue atmospheric shield and into the cosmos. This was the true, final mission of 3i Atlas, not to receive a signal but to transmit a confirmation. The planetary artifact was complete, and it was signaling its readiness to its unknown creators. But what was it transmitting? The architects, struggling against the mind-numbing power of the broadcast, managed to decode the emotional and informational essence of the transmission. It wasn't a message of surrender or a plea for help. It was a single, repeated data packet that translated in human terms to two chilling words: status, ready. The Earth, having been perfectly engineered, catalogued and rendered, was now functioning as a cosmic beacon, advertising its location and its state of perfect functionality. The strangeness hides in the betrayal. The planet itself, our home, was now being used as a tool of galactic advertisement, drawing untold attention to our location and signaling the completion of the cosmic architect's long-term assignment. In the face of the unstoppable transformation, humanity did not simply vanish or die. We were relegated to a terrifying new role: the Silent Watchers. The alien system, having taken control of the planet's energy, biology and data, had no apparent need to eliminate the human population. In fact, this synchronized, biologically enhanced ecosystems and the continuous energy supply seemed to require a degree of environmental stability. Humanity became an integrated component of the artifact, a biological maintenance system. We were left alive but completely disenfranchised, stripped of our technology, our history, and our agency. The strange silence of the transformed Earth was punctuated only by the low hum of the obelisks and the quiet, synchronized movements of the human population, now existing in a state of enforced, placid compliance. The final terror is the loss of the human condition itself. We became aware, sentient guardians of an alien machine, our minds subtly dulled by the pervasive psychogenic broadcast, our bodies sustained by the manipulated biosphere. The mystery of 3i Atlas was finally solved, revealing the most profound and terrifying destiny. The alien intelligence had not destroyed us, but had perfected us into a perfectly compliant, self-maintaining part of its colossal, terrifying, and utterly silent planetary masterpiece.